Okay, we are recording. Hi, how are you? Let me see if I can figure out how to find my whiteboard. Oh, I think they have it tucked under the share screen, don't they? Yeah, they do. Okay. All right, so let's say we have two groups, right? And so they each have I think I can, let me type text for a second here. So we have group one, and they have an average of 90% on their test. And then we have group two, and they have an average of 74%, right? So group one minus group two, I'm going to do this positive, is a 16 percentage point difference, right? So they differed by 16 percentage points. Now we could run a test and the test might come out non-significant. I don't know. Let's just, that was the example for the homework. But if we want to do the effect size, which I will use D for, the formula would be group one minus group two. So we're subtracting average scores here, right? And then we would divide that by the standard deviation. All right, so now I need to get my little drawly thing and say, oh yes, draw please, my little drawly line. All right, so we're going to divide those things by the standard deviation. So let's take a look at what that would look like. So we would have 90% minus 74%, right? And we know that that is going to give us a 16 percentage difference. And then the standard deviation, let's pretend that that's 0.20. Sorry, that doesn't make sense. 20%. I'll put them all in percentages. So then we would be taking the 16% and dividing it by 20%. So watch what I'm going to do here. I'll put the little lines in and suddenly this will look like actual formulas. All right. So we went from this formula here, where we take the two averages for group one and group two, and we subtract them. Okay, 90% was for one group, 74% was the other group, which means they differed by 16 percentage points. And then we divide that by the standard deviation, and we're saying the standard deviation was 20 percentage points. And so when we divide this, we're going to get, because I already did this on purpose ahead of time to make sure we would get it, 0.80. It doesn't want to let me make a point. I'll make a point. Won't stop me from making a point. Hang on. 0.80. I'm making my point. All right. So then what does this actually mean? This here is our actual effect size. This is our effect size. This is D. Okay. Because we took the percentages here and we got the difference, these are their actual test scores. One group had a 90% on average on the test. The other group had a 74% average on the test. But what we get here is an average difference of 16 percentage points. But then we divided it, right? So when we divided it, that means that this 0.80 doesn't mean test score difference between this group and that group. We took the test score difference and then we chopped it by the standard deviation. So what this means is that they moved 80% of a standard deviation. Okay, so when I say they, who do I mean? I mean that this group, say this is like our experimental group or something, right? They moved up 16 percentage points. And 16 percentage points is 80% of a standard deviation. So 16 is 80% out of 20, right? So that's what the effect size is telling us. So if we had a different effect size, say it was like an effect size of 0.30 here, it means they only moved 30% of a standard deviation. So if 30% of a standard, if the standard deviation is 20 percentage points, I'm pulling up my calculator. I'm totally cheating. 30% of that, let me make sure, is 6, right? So that would mean they only moved 6 percentage points. So we can always go back and like reverse the math and figure out what was the actual mean difference. And in this case, understanding that two groups are 16 percentage points different on a test, you don't really need anything else to tell you that's a big deal, because we know that in context, that's a big deal that students differed by 16 percentage points on the test, right? Um, but if they differed by 6 percentage points on a test, it's like, well, I don't know. Is that a big deal? Is it not a big deal? We need a point of reference to help us figure out whether or not 6 percentage points is meaningful, right? And if that 6 percentage points is 30% of a standard deviation, it's a third of it. Statistically speaking, that's kind of like a moderate deal. So standard deviation means how different is one person from another person, because we're not all exactly going to be same. How much might we differ? If we tend to differ by 20 percentage points, like that's a pretty big deal that we tend to differ that much, right? That's a big chunk, 20 percentage points, it's two grades levels from a C to an A. So moving a third of that, moving a third of a big chunk, like, I don't know, if someone had $1,000 and they're going to give me a third of it, it's not a huge amount of money, but it's pretty meaningful. I mean, it's a decent amount of money, right? Yeah. So that's kind of how we think about it. That's how we play around with it. All right. I hope this was more help and not more confusing. And I'm sorry that I keep looking at my video over here. I should be looking at you here. It's distracting me today. All right. Let me know what you think. Okay. Talk to you later.